isn't an illustration of the problems of the current structure of the NHS. Ministers can proclaim anything they like from the dispatch box, but at the moment they don't actually control what's happening in the NHS. And I believe, my Lords, it is really time for ministers to restore their power of direction over the NHS.
The Noble Baron makes an interesting point, but it simply isn't true that ministers don't drive change and have an impact on reforms in the NHS. We have a profound and energetic reform agenda, and it is being driven through with energy and determination.
Lord Arbuthnot of...
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
My Lords, whilst the Government is pleased that a resolution has been reached on this difficult matter, the Post Office led the mediation and the Government was not a party to it. Whilst the financial settlement is a major step towards resolving some of these grievances, there is much more for the Post Office to do, including resetting its relationship with postmasters and addressing historic shortfalls for postmasters who were not part of this group litigation.
My Lords, I am grateful to my noble friend. Many of your Lordships will have been delighted to have heard last week in Prime Minister's questions the Prime Minister say that there would be an independent inquiry into what he described as the Post Office Horizon IT systems scandal. Can my noble friend please give us details of that inquiry, and in particular of how it will be independent not only of the Post Office but also of the Government?
Well, let me first of all pay tribute to my noble friend who has pursued these matters quite rightly with a dogged determination, and we probably wouldn't be where we are today without the work of him and many others on this issue. Government recognises the strength of feeling about the negative impact that the court case has had on postmasters. As my honourable friend Paul Scully MP announced at Bay's orals on Tuesday, we are looking into what needs to be done, and we will outline the next steps following the Prime Minister's announcement as soon as possible.
My Lords, we on these benches very much welcome the Prime Minister's commitment to an independent inquiry into what he himself described as a scandal. And it's to be hoped that those who did not take legal action will get full and rapid compensation, though I do appreciate the Minister's comments on the setup. But of course, no compensation can make up for the emotional trauma, loss of reputation, livelihoods and health that has cost them dear. Would the Noble Lord the Minister agree with me that he, as we, will press for full compensation as well as restoration of monies lost?
Yeah, I think the Noble Baroness makes an important point, and indeed a scheme will be announced in the near future with the aim of addressing the historic shortfalls for postmasters who are not part of the group litigation, and the Government will challenge and monitor the progress of the scheme. And of course there is also the important issue of those people who were convicted of offences. 57 cases have been referred to the Criminal Cases Review Commission. If that case is referred to the Court of Appeal, and if they are then their convictions are overturned, then of course there are avenues for them to pursue compensation as well.
My Lords, can I just follow up on the Noble Lord Arbuthnot's point earlier about the independent inquiry? As has been said, the Prime Minister in Prime Minister's questions did commit to it, and that was on the back of a question from Kate Osborne asking will he launch an independent inquiry, where he said he would follow up on that. Number 10, Comms, then later said that no decisions had been taken with regards to a specific independent inquiry. I wasn't clear from the Noble Lord the Minister's first answer whether we are going to progress with an independent inquiry to get to the bottom of this. We had a very good debate in the Moses Room last week on it, with a lot of comments, a lot of information coming out. So could I just, is the Noble Lord, or can the Noble Lord the Minister confirm whether there will be an independent inquiry, and if so, what the timescale of that would be?
Well, we do agree that there needs to be a full examination with due rigour of what happened and what the next steps would be. But I cannot go any further than the answer I gave to the Noble Lord earlier, that we will be announcing next steps following the Prime Minister's announcement as soon as we can.
Lord.
It's worth possibly remembering in this case that a major national organisation providing a public service has stamped on the lives and destroyed the lives not merely of local innocent people, but of local people who were key members of their communities, serving those communities and doing their best to maintain the community spirit. So could this matter be addressed with intense urgency, because otherwise some very, very sad personal tragedies are going to follow.
The Noble Lord is absolutely correct, and I agree with what he had to say about it. There were a number of tragedies. Some people committed suicide as a result of this. There's no question that the Post Office management at the time behaved disgracefully. None of them are now in position, but it is very important that we get on with these matters as quickly as possible. Some of them, of course, are subject to the judicial process, which the Noble Lord will know that I cannot comment on, but I hope that there will be a resolution as soon as possible for these sad and unfortunate individuals.
My Lords.
What lessons the government has drawn from this? This is a public corporation. It has acted in an authoritarian way to trash the reputations of pillars of the community, respected in the local community. There must be some lessons to be drawn by the government, and what would those be?
I think the Noble Lord is entirely right. There are a number of lessons that need to be drawn. The Post Office is an independent company. It's 100% shareholding owned by the government. We appoint an independent director onto the board. But clearly, during the unfolding of this scandal, base officials were misled by the Post Office, and the information provided was not correct. So we're looking at a new governance framework as to how these matters can be addressed going forward, and again, announcements will be coming in due course on that.
My Lords, it's already acknowledged this morning that the PM said a few days ago we need to get to the bottom of the matter. Would the Noble Lord, the Minister, agree that an inquiry needs to begin sooner rather than later, and should include in the scope the possibility of decriminalisation police records for those who were falsely accused?
I do hope that we could get the matter as quickly as possible, but of course the work of the CCRC is important, but government cannot interfere in that. I understand that decisions are expected fairly soon in that matter, and then they will have to go back to the Court of Appeal. The judicial process, I think we'd all wish, could be speedier sometimes, but we have to let these matters take their course. But I take on board the Noble Lady's concerns.
My Lords, in a previous discussion on this, I asked the Minister about the role of the non-exec responsible, the government's non-exec on the board of the Post Office. And in reply, he said, and I quote, his role has evolved from a perhaps more passive approach to a much more active one going forward. Could my noble friend, the Minister, tell us what this new active approach of the government's non-executive director is?
Yes.
Noble Lord makes an important point. As I said in response to an earlier question, we are looking at the framework of the decisions. It's not just about the role of the non-executive director. It is the whole oversight of the organisation by BEIS, how we improve the governance and monitoring of what is in effect an independent company. Operational decisions are a matter for the board of the Post Office, but clearly the fact that I'm standing up here in front of your lordships answering questions now shows that it is a company owned 100% by the government. Lessons need to be learned. We need to get to the bottom of this. I've spoken personally to the new Chief Executive of the Post Office. I know other ministerial colleagues have as well. I think we're satisfied that he now has a grip on the situation. The accounting system has been improved, and that they are cooperating fully with the work of the Criminal Cases Review Commission, as indeed they should be.
Lord Beecham.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper. My Lords, the Gambling Commission reports that the number of...
Maybe I was going to get two questions in one. My Lords, we're committed to reducing gambling-related harm.